Hi friends, welcome to GT Coding. In this video, I will show you how to write code in PHP. So in the last couple of modules, we have designed our website completely. And in this video, I will show you how to write code in PHP. So first of all, you have to install a software called zamp. So there are also other alternatives for this like mamp or vamp. But this is the one I use. So I'll just click on this link, first link over here. So now you have to just download the executable for your operating system. So it is available for Windows, Linux and Mac OS. So after downloading it, just install the software, and once you have installed the software, you'll get something like ZAMP control panel in your applications list, and just open that and click on Start in front of Apache, and then click on Admin. So here we can see the welcome screen of ZAMP. So if you see this welcome screen on your browser, you can make sure that you have installed ZAMP correctly. Now you have to go to the location where you have installed ZAMP. So I have installed ZAMP in the C drive. So I'll go to C and ZAMP, and in that you have to go to a folder called htdocs. So this is the place where all your projects are going to be situated. So we'll create a new folder and we'll name it PHP intro. And now I will open it in my text editor. So here, instead of localhost dashboard, here we can type the name of our folder. So we'll type localhost PHP intro, and it will show this folder over here. So here we'll go ahead and create a new file, and we'll name it index.php. So you have to keep in mind that whenever you create a PHP file, you have to have the file extension as .php. So we'll save this, and here we will type hi everyone. And if I'll save this and refresh over here, we can see that hi everyone is displayed over here. So this is basically how you create a new PHP file. So you can write PHP and HTML inside the same document. So we have this file extension as .php, but you can certainly write any HTML tag that you want. So here, if I will have an h1 tag, we will just type hi from h1, and if I will refresh this, we can see that the heading is displayed over here. So if you want to enter into the PHP mode, you have to just type less than question mark and PHP, and then you have to close it with question mark and greater than sign. So whatever you type inside here will be PHP code. So there's a function called echo, and here we will type hi from PHP, and if I will save this and refresh, we can see that hi from PHP is displayed over here. In the same way, you can write other things, like for example, if you type 45 plus 55, and if I refresh it over here, we can see that PHP has done the calculation for us. So you can integrate PHP inside an HTML tag as well. For example, if you want to have this displayed inside an h2, we can just type h2 and we'll just wrap it inside an h2. So if I'll just save this, we can see that our PHP code is integrated with our HTML tag. So this is basically how PHP works. Now let's get started by learning the basics of PHP. So the first thing we'll look at is variables in PHP. So we will open our PHP, and here we will close it, and we'll write all our code inside here. So to create a variable in CSS, you have to use the dollar symbol and then type the name of the variable. So we'll create a variable called message, and here we will give it a value of welcome to GT Coding. So now this is a variable in PHP called message, and it contains a string value of welcome to GT Coding. Now you can create a variable for numbers as well by just typing the variable name. We will just type number1, and we'll give it a value of 23, and we'll create one more variable called number2, and we'll give it a value of 48. So whenever we give a value to a variable, it turns into that data type. So we'll create one more variable to store the sum of these two numbers. So we'll type $total, and here we will give $number1 plus $number2. So we'll just print it out. So to print out a message, you have to type echo and print the message inside it. So in our echo, what we'll do is we'll create an S3. So in S3, we will just type the name of our variable, and then we'll close the S3 over here. So if I'll save this and refresh the browser, we can see that our message is printed on the browser. So in the same way, we will also create a message for the sum of the two numbers. So we'll type echo, and here we will have a paragraph, and in here we'll type the sum of, and the number one should be typed with a $sign because we want to display the value of this variable, and number 2, and here we will type total. So now we'll just refresh our browser. We can see that the sum of 23 and 48 is 71. So this is how you work with variables in PHP. So you can also use echo with a single quotes instead of the double quotes. For example, if you type hi from single quote, so if I'll save this, we see that it is also displayed on the screen. But the difference between single quotes and double quotes is that you cannot type the value of a variable in here. So for example, if you type $number1 over here, and if I save this, we can see that number 1 is displayed as it is over here. It doesn't print out the value of this number 1 variable. So in that case, you have to use double quotes, or you can also use single quotes if you have just a plain string to print out. Now if you want to use a single quote and also print the value of this variable, you can use a technique called concatenation. So we'll just have a paragraph and we'll type the sum of, and here you have to use concatenation. To use concatenation in PHP, you have to type a dot, and then you have to type the variable name, and then a dot, and then you have to enter into the single quotes, and we'll type and, then a dot, and we'll type $2, a dot, is dot total, and then we also need to have a full stop. So now if I will save this and refresh this, we can see that we get the same message. So this is how you concatenate strings inside PHP. So that's it with variables in PHP. Now we will look at conditional statements in PHP. So we'll just delete all our code, and here we'll create a variable called logged in, and we'll set it to false for now. So this is a Boolean variable which has a value of true or false. So here we'll type if, and here you have to type the condition, and inside curly braces you have to type what should happen if the condition is true. So here we will type if $logged in equals true. So these two equal signs means that it is checking for this condition whether it is true or false, and then here we have to type echo, and we'll just type welcome, and if it is not the case, we'll just type please log in. So if I'll save this and refresh it over here, we can see that it says please log in, and if we set the variable value to true, and if I refresh it over here, we can see that welcome is displayed on the screen. And if you are using a Boolean variable, you can just type if logged in, and this will compile to if logged in is true. So if we just save this and refresh it again, we can see that we get the same message. So this is how conditions work in PHP. Now we will look at arrays in PHP. So to create an array, you have to just name the array, and then we have to type the keyword array, and in that type the values that you want to store. So we'll store some JavaScript libraries or framework. So we'll type React, Angular, and Vue. These are the three most popular JavaScript libraries or frameworks. So now we have created our array called JavaScript. Now to print the array, you can use a function called print_r. So we'll type print_r, and here just give the name of the array. And if I will refresh this, we can see that the JavaScript array is displayed and it starts from 0. And there is one more method to print array. So we'll just have a line break, and here we will type var dump. So in that you have to just type the name of your array, and if I refresh it, we can see that we get a detailed explanation of our array. So these are the two methods which are used to print the array. So if you want to access an element from the array, we'll just type echo, and we'll just access the second element from the array. So here we have to type JavaScript, and in square brackets you have to type the index value. So the index value of Angular is 1 because the array starts from 0. So if I type 1 and if I refresh it, we can see that Angular is displayed over here. We'll just wrap this inside an S3. So this is how you create an array in PHP. Now we will look at how to create an associative array. So we will have a horizontal rule, and now we'll create an associative array. So to create an associative array, you have to first of all type the name of your array. So this is the same name over here. So whenever we add any value over here, this variable will be replaced by this. So we will type array, and inside here you have to type the key and the value. So we'll type React, and here we will type as a value who created it, and then we'll type the second key, and then the value of the second key, and then the third key and the value. So now we have created an associative array. So we will just use our var dump function to print out this array. So if I refresh this, we get an error on line 23 because we didn't have a semicolon after creating the array. Now if we just save this and refresh it, we can see that this is the associative array, and if you want to get a value from this array, you just have to type echo, and in here we will type s3, and we will use concatenation, and you have to type the name of the array, and then inside square brackets you have to type the key, and here we will close the s3. So if I'll save this, we can see that the value of the key React is displayed. In the same way, we can use it for printing the other values as well. So I'll just type view, and if I refresh, we can see that both the values are displayed over here. So this is how you access the values from an associative array. Now we'll create a multi-dimensional array. So we'll type multi-dimensional array. So multi-dimensional arrays are basically arrays inside another array. So we'll just create an array with the name of users, and we will type array, and inside array we will have another array, and here we will have user ID, and we will set that equal to user1 and the password to 1234. Then we will have another array, and here we will type user ID, and this will be the user2, and we will type the password. So this is basically how you create a multidimensional array. So if I'll go ahead and var dump our users array, we'll just refresh our page. We can see that our array is displayed over here. So if you want to access one of the elements, you just have to type users and which of these arrays you want to access. So if you want to access the first one, you just have to type 0, and in the next square bracket you have to type the key. So we'll just type user ID. So if I'll save this and refresh it, we get the user ID of the first user. So this is all about arrays in PHP. Now we'll take a look at how to write loops in PHP. So we'll just remove all this code, and here we will type while loop. So this is the first loop that we are going to look at. So loops are basically used to do some repetitive tasks. So if you want to type the numbers 0 through 10, you should not type echo and 1 and then echo 2 and till the number 10. You have to use a loop. So first of all, we will just create a basic heading and we will type while loop. So we'll create a variable called limit. So we'll have a value of 10 and a variable called number, which should have a value of 0. So now we'll print 0 to 10 on the screen. So first of all, we will type while, and here we have to specify the condition. So here we will type while number is less than or equal to the limit, and in curly braces you have to type what should happen when the condition is true. So we'll type echo, and we'll have some list items. So before that, here we'll create an unordered list. So echo unordered list, and in here we will have a list item for each of the numbers, and we will type number over here, and then each time the loop executes we have to increase the value of number. So we'll type number plus plus, and at last we have to close our UL. So we'll just save it and refresh it. Here we can see that we have the numbers 0 through 10 printed on our screen. So this is how you use while loops inside PHP. Now we'll take a look at for loops. So we'll just copy this from here and paste it over here. So we'll just change it to for loop, and first of all we will open our UL. And to write a for loop, you don't need to have these variables before writing the loop. So here you can type for, and here we'll create a variable called I, and we will set it to 0, and then while I is less than or equal to, and we'll type limit over here, and we also have to type how much the value should increment. So we'll just increment it by 1, and here we'll just type echo li and the variable, and at last we will close our UL. And if I'll refresh this, we see that we have printed 0 through 10 with our for loop. Now the next type of loop we will look at is called the do while loop. So it is basically pretty much the same as the while loop, but the only difference is that this code over here will be executed at least once. So we'll just write a new do while loop, and we'll give it a heading. And here also we have to create variables before writing our loop. So we will make use of these two variables, and we'll just set the number variable to 0 because it has been changed in the while loop. So here we will just type number equals 0, and first of all you have to type do, and in curly braces you have to type what should execute inside the loop. So we'll type echo li, and the value of number, and we also have to open the UL over here, and after that we have to increase the number variable by 1, and after do you have to type while, and here in parentheses you have to type the condition. So we will type number is less than or equal to limit. So if I'll save this, so if you look at this, we see that there's no difference between the do while loop and the while loop. But here if we change the value of the number variable to say 50, so this value is greater than the limit, that is 10. So this block of code should not be executed at all in the while loop, but in our do while loop this gets executed at least once. So if I refresh this, we can see that 50 is displayed, and after that it checks this condition and then it breaks out of the loop. So if we set this variable over here to 50, and if we check this, we can see that the while loop doesn't execute at all. So now let's take a look at another type of loop called the for each loop. So this loop makes it really easy for us to access values from an array. So first of all, let's create an array. So we'll create an array called names, and we'll have some names inside it. So this is our array. Now first of all, we'll create a UL just as we did in the previous loops, and then we will type for each, and here we will type the name of our array and as, and here we have to give a new variable name, so we will name it name. So this is the array and this is the variable that we are going to use to access the values from the array. So in our curly braces here we will type echo, and we have to just type name over here, and we'll close our UL. So that's basically it. Now if I just save this and refresh it on my browser, we can see that we get all the items inside the array listed over here. So this is an easy way to access the values inside an array. Now we'll also take a look at how to access the values from an associative array. So we'll create an associative array. So we'll give it a name called languages, and we'll give an array, and for our key we will type PHP, and for the value we will type Laravel. So this is a framework for PHP, and for Python we will say Django. So this is our languages array, which is an associative array. So instead of this we have to type languages, that is the name of the array, and as, and here we have to type a new variable name. So we'll type language, and we also have to access these values. So here we have to type equals greater than, and we will type a new variable name framework. So now here we can use the variables that we created over here. So let's just type framework for, and we'll type the name of the language is, or we'll just type a colon, and here we will type the framework. So now if I'll save this and refresh it on my browser, we can see that the values from the associative array are displayed on the screen. So this is how we access the values from an associative array using the for each loop. Now we'll take a look at how to write functions in PHP. So to create a function, you have to first of all write the keyword function and then type the name of the function. So we'll create a function called say hi. So this is our function, and what this function will do is just echo hi everyone on the screen. And if I now just save this and refresh on my browser, it doesn't display anything because we have just created a function, we have not called it. So if we call our function by typing the name of the function and the parenthesis, and if I refresh the browser, we can see that the function executes, and we can execute this function many times if you want. So here we can see that the function is executed 3 times. Now I will show you how to pass arguments to a function and how to return a value from the function. So we'll create a new function called add, and we'll pass in 2 arguments. So arguments are basically variables, so we'll pass a variable called num1 and another variable called num2, and inside here, to return a value from the function, we have to use the keyword called return, and here we can return anything that we want. So we will return the sum of these 2 numbers. So we'll type num1 plus num2. So this will return the sum of these 2 numbers. So now we'll call the function. So we'll call it inside an echo statement. So here we will type echo h4, and we'll type the sum of 20 and 30 is, and we'll concatenate the value from the function. So we'll type add, and we'll pass in 2 numbers, so 20 and 30, and then we'll have a full stop, and we'll close our h4. So if I'll save this and refresh on my browser, we can see that the sum of 20 and 30 is 50. So this is how we call a function, by passing arguments to it, and this is how we return a value from the function. Now let's take a look at how to work with forms in PHP. So I'll just delete this. So this is not necessary for creating our WordPress theme, but I will just show you how to accept data from a form. So here we have to create a form. So we'll create a form, and we'll give the action as dashboard.php. So this is a file that we are going to create, and we'll give the method as post, and we'll create some input types. So input of type text, and the name will be user ID, and we'll create another input of type password, and the name will be password as well, and at last we'll have an input of type submit, and we will give it a value of login. So this is our basic form. I'll just refresh it. Now what we'll do is, when the user types GT coding in the username and password as 123456, we want to let the user to log in, or otherwise we'll just give a message that the login details are incorrect. So in our action we have typed dashboard.php. So whenever we click on the submit button, this form will be redirected to this page over here, and the post method means that the value will be sent securely, and if you type get over here, then the value will be shown on your URL over here. So that's the difference between post and get. So now we have to create a new file called dashboard.php. So we'll save it as dashboard.php. Now here we will write some PHP code. So here we'll create a new variable called user ID, and to get a value from a form we have to use a function called $_post. So if you are using post, you have to type post. If you are using get, you have to type get over here, and here we have to give the name of our input item. So in our user ID input we have the name as user ID, so we have to give the same name over here. So we will type user ID, and we'll create one more variable to store the password, and we'll type password over here. So now the values from the form will be stored in user ID and password variables. So now we will check the values using an if condition. So you'll say if user ID is equal to GT coding and password is equal to 123456, So if this is the case, then we have to say echo welcome, and we'll type the user ID as well. And if the user ID and password are different, then we'll just type echo incorrect login details. So now let's check this and see if it is working. So we'll just type some garbage value over here, and if I press on login, we can see that incorrect login details is displayed over here. So we also have an error because we didn't spell user ID correctly over here. So we'll just say user ID. I'll just go back and just type something and login. So it says incorrect login details. Now if we type the correct login ID and password, so we'll type GT coding, and for the password we'll type 123456, and if I press on login, we can see that we have welcome and the user ID. So this is basically how you get values from a form using PHP. Now we will see how to include one PHP file inside another. So I'll just remove all this and we'll create a basic HTML5 structure. And for the title we will say GT coding, and we'll also include a CSS file. So we have not created it yet, we'll create it now. And in the body we will have an h1, and we'll type GT coding, and we'll also have an unordered list, and we'll have some links. We'll say index.php over here, and in here we will type page 1, and we'll also have another list item, and we will say page 2.php. Now we'll wrap everything inside a header. Now we'll create an h4, and we'll give it a class page 1, and we'll type page 1 over here, and at last we'll have a footer, and we'll type this. So this is our basic page. I will just refresh this. So here we can see our website. Now I'll just apply some styles. I'll just fast forward it. So we have completed the styling for our page. So I'll just close this styles.css file. Now here we can see that we have this whole HTML markup over here. But now if you want to create another page called page2.php, then the only thing that is going to change is this page 2 over here. All the other things are going to stay the same. So that will be a lot of duplication of our code. So we can use a function in PHP called include. So first of all, we'll just copy this whole thing over here and create a new file called header.php. So we have header.php which contains this whole markup. Now we'll create another file called footer.php, and we'll copy this footer over there. Now we have header and footer, for our web page. Now whenever we create a new page, we just have to deal with this line of code, and we can include footer and header in our index.php file. So to include a file, we have to type include and then the name of the file. So if I'll save this, we can see that the header is included in our index.php file using this single line of code. We'll also include the footer. So if I'll save this, we can see that the footer is also included in our page. So in this way we can create any number of pages that we want. So we'll just copy this and create a new page called page2.php. And we'll type page 2 over here, and we'll also change the class to page 2, and we'll save it as page2.php. So now if I refresh this, and if I click on this page 2 link, we can see that page 2 is open. We can also see it in our address bar, and if we click on page 1, this changes to the index.php page. So now if you want to make a change in our header, we can do it by going to the header.php file, and here we can type something long coding, and if I refresh this, this will be saved on both the pages, page 2 and page 1, because it is included from the same file. So this can be beneficial for you if you are working with large project which has a lot of PHP files. So that's basically how you include files inside PHP. So there's also one more method called require. So if I type require over here, then the difference between require and include is that if we type include and if the file is not available, I'll just show you a demo. So if I type header 1 over here, and if I save this, we can see that we get a warning that the header 1 is not included, but the rest of the page just gets displayed. And if we use require over here, and if I refresh this, we can see that we get a warning and the rest of the page is not displayed. So if you want such a behavior, you can use require, or else you can use include. So that's it for this video. I hope that you have learned how to write code in PHP. And if you like this video, please click on the like button. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below, and subscribe to this channel to get the latest updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.